you have to kind of temper that urge, that impulse. But yeah, so it can be many years sometimes before an idea you've thrown out there even gets any attention. You know, I've had papers that get 1 citation for 5 years and then they get 50 in a year. It comes out of nowhere. Suddenly there's some interest. And it's like that. I mean, I guess it's like anything else. And similarly, I've been to conferences where I'll meet a scientist from some part of the world I wouldn't ordinarily see who says, it's been really influential. I mean, it just says that magic thing.
Right. Of course.
I guess
one
it
of the
can
great
be similar.
sequences in the Universe book is that conference you depict where everyone was sort of on fire for a while, and there was this,
yeah, just absurdly aflame, right? All packed together in a huge room, right? They're all occupying this tiny space, couldn't get close enough to each other, had to hear everything. You know, moments like that are really precious, but then you have something like Gödel saying towards the end of his life, maybe I really didn't do anything. Maybe it really all was just trickery, and being very unsure of his own contribution, feeling he never lived up to his potential. And again, you have that, well, does it really matter how Gödel feels about himself in the context of his work, or does it really matter what imprint was left behind? And what does it mean for it to matter? I mean, you know, it depends on who you ask, I suppose. Yeah. But again, I think another thing that has parallel, I mean, we've talked a lot about the novel, but is the idea of truth and awkwardness. You're talking about having something that's very discordant and intentionally discordant, juxtaposing maybe 2 genres or straddling them so much that you have another third thing emerging out of them. I think in science the idea of beauty is it's the last realm in which people seriously with a straight face talk to each other about beauty. You know, visual artists would never be like, that's a beautiful piece of work anymore. I mean, you know, not in really contemporary...
It's true that that is a very difficult phrase. You know, after modernism, beauty is terrifically suspect.
Right, absolutely. And it's considered kind of provincial to aim for something beautiful. You know, we're not doing pretty pictures here, we're doing something. But in science, we really hold up beauty and elegance as the goal, because for reasons that I think nobody fully understands, it's a good criterion for distinguishing what's right from what's wrong. Right. And if something's beautiful and elegant, it probably is right. I mean, occasionally you'll see something that's so beautiful and so elegant and it's not right. It's just you can't believe it's not right, because that, for whatever reason, the universe does seem to hold it up as...
It's leaning.
Yeah. And I don't understand that. I don't think anyone understands that. And then you can make arguments, well, maybe it's only human perception that we select from the vast sea of complicated things, a pattern that we can recognize, so we really impose patterns. And back to the idea of the atom moving around in the room, my mind doesn't follow every atom in the room, so I go for this averaged emergent quantity called temperature. And can I really argue
Beauty could be seen as
that
a kind of temperature.
Right, exactly. It's only the emergent property that I'm able to perceive, and really underneath is a list. It's like a picture. Underneath is a list of digital codes, and I can't perceive.
Not so totally different from the insight whenever it was first attained that one of the things people were selecting for without naming it when they thought a person was beautiful was symmetry.
Right.
And now we take that so for granted. It's such a commonplace. But in fact, this was not something anyone would have said, oh, I love looking at symmetrical people.
Right. Exactly.
They sought the name beauty to describe an evoked response.
But of course, our responses are evolved out of a series of complex steps, starting with simple laws of physics. Right. And so the fact that we inherit these things, even if we're so far away that we don't remember them, it's like the fact that I might have the curly hair of my great-great-great-grandmother from Mesopotamia, you know. It's a throwback that's there that I just don't always understand why it's there. And that's why I think it is a marvelous thing that the human mind is even able to know certain things. I mean, that was one of Einstein's quotes. I can't remember exactly how it went, but it was something like, the most miraculous thing about the universe is the fact that we can understand it. And that really is completely miraculous. Why can't we? We're a pretty humble species. We've been around for a very short time. We've only had technology for like 100 years. We're able to know things about the origin of the universe 14 billion years ago. And that is, it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
And yet, again, you can make the counter-argument that yes, it does have to be that way because we evolved from a series of steps, one at a time, that started with the origin of the universe. And so somehow all of those physical and mathematical processes become imprinted in the way our logical networks are structured. And according to somebody like Turing, we really are just biological machines, and we were coded and programmed by the laws of physics, as surely as if somebody had sat down, you know, and written that code. So maybe the fact that we're naming the name beautiful to it and elegant to it is, as you said, it's just because we're identifying something that's been selected in a kind of natural evolutionary way.
Right. And when I talk about pursuit of epiphanies, I'm in a sense it's another word for another disguise on the name of truth. Mm-hmm. You know, when I had to make that distinction, right, and say, well, it isn't that I'm not interested in truth; it's that response or epiphany is the building block towards the truth, or paradox. Evocation, those are the ways I chase my truth.